In this video, we're going to take a look at creating catalogs and data products in the Rich Data Services Manager application. So here I am logged in, and again, I'm starting at the management catalog. I've got my existing catalogs and their data products here. But if I want to create a new catalog or a new data product, I can go to the navigation and select Create Catalog. And I'm going to start here. For the catalogs, we really just need to fill out this simple form, and that will be real quick. So I'm going to give it an ID, and this should be a name that's more programmatic in nature, if you want to call it that. No white spaces or special characters or things like that, just underscores for spaces, or however you want to format the space yourself. Just no white spaces. And then I can give the actual human readable name here. Now I should mention, for apps that are internationalized, like this one, I have the option of English and French. I will be given a chance during the edit to add those internationalized values for the name and description. So I'm going to run that. It's going to create a process that gets started, and real quick that's going to be done. And so now if I go back to my manage, we'll see that the new catalog has been added. And again, I can come in here and start adding just some real basic documentation here. But again, if I wanted to start doing this in French, which I have set up here, I can go and start editing the French name and also the description here. If you don't have internationalization configured, you'll just see the single box for the default language that you're working with. So now if I want to create a data product, there's two ways I can get to it. I can go to the navigation here and start there. Or if I'm in a catalog already, I can use this Add Data Product button here. It'll take me to the same place to get started. Now, when creating a data product, we really need data to be in a form that we can query it, so we can do filters and aggregations and things like that in the Explorer and tabulation engine. So the end goal is really to have something that's SQL-like in nature, so a database. And that would be a SQL database here, a Google BigQuery or Socrata API, if you want to add extra metadata to those and you already have your data in something like that. Or if you don't have a database, but you have some file data, you can import that into a database that you can create through the Rich Data Services Manager. So let me start out by taking a look at just the connecting to an existing SQL database here. Now at this point it's going to be a little technical, so if you're not working with the database yourself, or you're not a database administrator, you might need some help from someone in your department to do that. We need to fill out the JDBC connection string here, and that's just kind of a special format of a string that shows where the database is located and what to connect to. And then you also need to know the table name, which I have right here in a little file. And I'm going to put that here. And then you need a user with read access to the database table. So once you get that figured out, you can add those in there, and it's going to be added to the new catalog that I have just created. And I need to give this an ID and a name as well, and the same rules apply. So this is going to be example CO2, and the name is So once I fill out that information, I can create this, and it will again create a process to connect to the database. It will read in the database format, the table structure, and it will create variables for us to start working with. So if I go back to manage again, go to my new catalog, I can see that I've got that data product here. And now I've got all the spots where I can start editing the metadata for the data product. If I go to the dictionary here, we'll see that I've got variables created for every column that was in the database. And we really have some very basic information here. But now I can go and start editing the metadata for each one of these. And that's a different video, but this gives me the starting point to start working with the documentation. If I go to classifications, because we connected to a database table, I don't have any type of value labels, sets, or code lists or anything like that to pull from, and so the classifications section is empty. And so that's kind of the basic setup. If you connect to a database, then you can start documenting it after that. Now you could publish this right now, make it public, and all your users could see the data itself. There just wouldn't be very much documentation with it. So the data is all connected, everything is ready to go, and you just need to add some documentation to fill things out. Now, if I wanted to add another data product, and I had a file-based thing, let's say I have an SPSS file, I can select that. It's going to give you a little kind of instruction here that you could, we recommend you create the database yourself because it is kind of better to make this, have a database administrator working on this and making the decisions on how the data should be stored and everything. But we do allow the ability to import the data into the database. And so here for SPSS, I need to upload my SPSS file. I have an option to import metadata from the SPSS file, and then everything else is pretty much the same. So I would come here, I would find my SPSS file, I would upload that. I would select if I want to import metadata. So this would be things like the variable labels, and if there's code lists or value labels in the SPSS file, that would be imported as well to create code classifications and codes in RDS. And then once I do that, the same thing would apply. I'm going to grab that connection string here. I'm going to give it the name of the table that I want to create. So I'll call this example CO2 2. And then I need to give it a user here. This user needs read and write access because it needs to create the table and import the data from the file into the database. So that's something to keep in mind. I'll call this the same thing. So when I create this, it's going to create that database table. It's going to import the data and then also import the metadata from the SPSS file. Let's go see what we have. So if I go to my new catalog, we have our file here. I've got my dictionary. You can see that the plant, the type, and the treatment variables have a classification now. And if I look at the classification, we've got a plant which has the code values 1 through 10. The English labels here, and I can add French labels if I want to fill in that. If you have internationalization, the different languages will be there for you to work with. And again, the type as well. We have plants from Quebec and Mississippi, and then the treatment of those plants. So we've got a little bit more metadata coming from the file based import. So that's going to do it for the data product creation. In the next couple of videos, we'll be talking about editing this metadata here, adding more information, or changing the metadata for the variables here to make it work better for RDS, and then adding classifications and documents and things like that.